Art imitates life, or so the saying goes. But what happens when life gets gruesome? Well, so does the art. Today, I'm looking at 10 disturbing works of art based on historical events. Warning, this video shows graphic images and dark subject matter. Number 10. Dina Dargo's Into the Void. I'd be remiss to have a list of unnerving art inspired by real-world events without talking about COVID-19. One of the few global events in our lifetimes, the COVID pandemic has left death, strength, uncertainty, and anxiety in its wake. The painting depicts a woman, alone in a void, moving forward while her face is covered. The face covering is quite literally a mask, like many of us have been wearing for years, but it also symbolizes the uncertainty we face in our future and an unwillingness to accept reality. Most of us can probably identify with at least one aspect of this haunting painting, making it more powerful. Number 9. Andy Warhol, Big Electric Chair. While Andy Warhol might be first associated with brightly colored pop art, you might be surprised to learn that he created a more dour series of works. Warhol's Big Electric Chair was a silkscreen painting created in 1971. It depicts a transition in the United States' capital punishment system, moving from hanging to electrocution. The public has always been fascinated by death and violence. We might think we've moved on from the gladiatorial days of Rome, but people are still intrigued by the concept of death, punishment, and violence. Warhol forces viewers to confront the notion of death with the stark, singular electric chair as the subject of this piece of art. Number 8. Thomas Nast, Various Political Cartoons. Slavery is undoubtedly one of many dark splotches of any country's history, and the United States is no exception. During the Civil War, Thomas Nast aligned himself with Abraham Lincoln, turning his political cartoons to issues of slavery, emancipation, and suffrage. In Harper's Weekly, Nast regularly published cartoons depicting these challenges. In one sobering piece, Nast shows members of the Ku Klux Klan and White League shaking hands, crushing a black family under the weight of their power. Another shows a black man murdered by the Ku Klux Klan in response to suffrage rights. It is simply titled, "One Less Vote." Political cartoons show painful or divisive historical moments in a minimal space, and Bass delivered them many times throughout his career. Number 7. Frida Kahlo, Girl with Death Mask. While mourning the death of her own child as a result of miscarriage, Frida Kahlo painted Girl with Death Mask. In her work, Kahlo had a close relationship with death and honored traditional Mexican ideas about death. The actual death mask worn by the little girl is a classic toy for Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. The second mask, the tiger mask, is a talisman meant to keep evil at bay, and the yellow flowers in her hands are marigolds, meant to guide spirits in the afterlife. Although Dia de los Muertos is typically a time to celebrate the lives of loved ones lost, the painting offers a more ominous tone with the cloudy, dark background and total isolation that the child is experiencing. There's no doubt that this work shows a moment of grief, based on a genuine tragedy the artist experienced. Number 6. Peter Paul Rubens' Massacre of Innocents. While rooted in biblical storytelling, Rubens' original iteration of Massacre of Innocents offers a morbid vision of Calvinist attacks in Antwerp. The attack impacted 8,000 civilians. The work shows several innocent infants being ripped from their mothers and executed. The floor is littered with babies' bodies. Men, some with weapons, are the instigators of the violence in this painting. The realism captured in the painting only adds to the vivid horror that it depicts. Number 5. Alan Moore's Blind Man in Belsen. Another dark mark on humanity's history is the Holocaust. The systematic capture and isolation of Jewish people and other groups by Nazi Germany. When World War II drew to a close, Allied forces released the surviving prisoners of concentration camps. They were shadows of their former selves, quite literally due to malnutrition and figuratively as they pieced their lives together after going through terrible traumas. War artist Alan Moore spent a few days capturing the haunting images of survivors in his art. Blind Man in Belsen shows emaciated survivors walking through fields of the dead, skeletal figures not too dissimilar from their barely living counterparts. Of the tens of thousands of prisoners housed at Belsen, nearly 40,000 died in the camp. Another 13,000 died after liberation, unable to overcome illnesses developed in the camps. Among those who died at Belsen were Margot and Anne Frank. Number 4. The Doctor by CRW Nevinson. While not the first war in the world, the First World War was a historical event, to be sure. Civilian and military deaths are estimated at around 40 million, led to the fall of several imperial dynasties, led to a revolution in Russia, and destabilized European society. The level of carnage unleashed during this war was like nothing the world had seen, and inspired countless works of art. My pick for this list is CRW Nevinson's The Doctor. This work shows the horror and brutality of war, bloody patients with various levels of injuries, but it also shows the harsh conditions and horror that medical professionals endured. Doctors were often ill-prepared to provide life-saving treatment, and working conditions were impossible. Viewers can see the ground covered in straw, not a clean base of operations. We give a lot of credit to first responders today, but Nevinson was doing it before it was in style. Number 3. David Wojnarowicz's Untitled Falling Buffaloes. This is an interesting one on my list. The falling buffaloes in this image are from a natural history diorama, and Wojnarowicz used the buffalo to comment on something else entirely: AIDS. During the AIDS epidemic that affected the United States in the 1980s, not much was known about the disease, which disproportionately affected a generation of gay men. As a result, gays and anyone else who had the disease were feared and ostracized. Wojnarowicz draws a parallel between the extermination of the buffalo and the sense of doom that the epidemic created. Wojnarowicz himself was diagnosed with AIDS and died at the age of 37. Number 2. Francisco Goya's The Madhouse. Francisco Goya captured the essence of asylums and sanatoriums in the 18th century. What is unique about Goya's work is the timing. Historically, the public had viewed mental illness as something to point, laugh, and gawk at. A shift in the view of madness meant these people were now being hidden away from society. The chaos of these institutions is captured well by Goya. Naked men fighting with each other or their invisible ghosts, people from various walks of life, including those from the military and clergy, are shown in the imagery, telling viewers that anyone can end up in one of these horrific places. Afraid he would end up in an asylum himself, it's no wonder he took such care to showcase the harsh realities of these institutions. Number 1. Kaspar Meglinger's Arches of the Spreuerbucke, Chaff Bridge. Completed by various artists under the direction of Kaspar Meglinger, several arches on a bridge in Lucerne, Switzerland depict the inescapability of death during the European plague of the 1300s. Originally comprised of 67 paintings and completed in 1637, 45 remain today. Called a danse macabre or Totentanz, each image shows death dancing with various people. It exemplifies the notion that death can find you no matter where you are, what profession, social class, or age. This was undoubtedly the feeling during the plague, when nearly 1/3 of Europe's population succumbed to bubonic plague. Did I miss your favorite art piece? Which was your favorite from the list? Make sure to drop a note for me in the comments so I can continue to make the videos you are most interested in. Like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Until next time.